Mom Oh, I have no.
All right, we're gonna call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. Okay. First item on our agenda is a public hearing. We have a motion to open the public hearing for a amendment to the Richmond Code of Ordinances, chapter 10.16.6.20 stop sign.
So moved.
Second, any discussion? We'll for a vote. Counselor Dinsmore.
Yeah.
Madnick.
Yes.
Palmigano.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
And myself, yes. So this is a public hearing on a stop sign. Do we have any council discussion? Chief gave us a brief overview at the last meeting. Do we have anybody from the public or online? Okay, we'll go for a motion to close our public hearing.
So moved.
Second, we'll go for a vote. Counselor Dinsmore.
Yes.
Madnick.
Yes.
Palmigano.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
And myself, yes. All right. Now can we have a action on this proposed amendment?
Yeah, motion to approve the proposed amendments to the Richmond Code of Ordinances, chapter 10.06.020 stop sign.
Second it. Any further council discussion? We'll go for a vote. Counselor Dinsmore.
Yes.
Madnick.
Yes.
Palmigano.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
And myself, yes. On to licenses. We have discussion and consideration of an incomplete application renewal for holiday license, subject to payment of taxes as reviewed for application completeness on November 12th, 2025 for Dolgen, Rhode Island LLC, DBA Dollar General.
Motion to approve the incomplete application renewal for holiday license subject to payment of taxes as reviewed for application completeness on November 12th, 2025 for Dolgen, Rhode Island LLC, doing business as Dollar General.
Second.
Any council discussion on this license? We'll go for a vote. Counselor Dinsmore.
Yes.
Madnick.
Yes.
Palmigano.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
And myself, yes. On to new hires. We have discussion and consideration of hiring a municipal court judge. Do we have a motion here?
I'll make a motion to appoint Nicholas Solitro as the municipal court judge.
I'll second. We got a motion and a second. Any council discussion on this item? We did have a discussion, executive session, reviewing all the applicants. I don't know if there's more. Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just say that, we had a great pool of applicants for the municipal court judge position, great attorneys with lots of experience. And, at least in my mind, Nick's a resident of Richmond. He's got experience in land use as an attorney, representing various municipalities. He's got plenty of experience before the district court. I served as a municipal court judge a little bit. I didn't have the most experience as a judge of all the candidates, but had some. And I just felt, on balance, looking for someone to not just become the judge, but establish the court, establish procedures, hopefully be a long-term presence, and, be willing to work with, the town officials and residents to get things resolved. And I felt he was the best fit for the position.
Well said. Any other council discussion?
The candidate here.
He is. Yes.
Okay, I see that. Take my glass up. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right.
Oh, and he's also served on the zoning board of review as the chair, so he's
Oh, yeah.
familiar with the land use issues as well. So, and he's done a great job there. So.
Perfect. Well said. I have nothing more to add except thank you to all our applicants because like you said, we did have a great pool of qualified attorneys apply. We'll go for our roll call vote. Counselor Dinsmore.
No.
Madnick.
Yes.
Palmigano.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
And myself, yes. On to appointments and resignations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Have a nice night.
You too.
Too.
Appointments and resignations. We have discussion and consideration of reappointment to the Wellness Committee with the term expiring November 30th, 27, for the following. We have a motion to approve all these.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
motion to reappoint to the Wellness Committee with the term expiring November 30th, 2027. Gary Kowalewski, Isaac Reed, Leah Arsenault, William Day, Kelly Lynn Ward Miller, and Rob Harrison.
Second.
Any council discussion?
I just want to note to the public that Pamela Rowland late prior to, I think it was yesterday or prior to the meeting, after the agenda was published, withdrew her reappointment.
Thank you for that reminder.
So we have an opening.
Yes, so we have an opening. Any further council discussion? Let's go for a vote. Counselor Dinsmore.
Yes.
Madnick.
Yes,
Palmigano.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
And myself, yes. Right, on to appointments to the Economic Development Commission. We have a motion on these items.
Motion to appoint to the Economic Development Commission with the term expiration January 31st, 2027, David Allen and Joseph Patrick Toromina.
Second.
Any council discussion on either of these applicants?
Just
Are
reading-
they here?
They're both here?
They're both here? Awesome. Just want to make sure.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, we're getting people who are both business experienced individuals as well as people who have stated they want to get more involved with the community. So both of those are a huge plus. So I want to thank those people for stepping forward.
Thank you. All right, we'll go for a vote. Counselor Dinsmore.
Yes.
Madnick.
yes,
Palmigano.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
And myself, yes. Welcome to the party.
When will they be sworn in?
They coordinate with the town clerk to get sworn in at a later date.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, on to discussion and consideration of Justin K. Price's request for appointment to the zoning board of review as a full voting member with the term expiring July 31st, 2029.
Motion to appoint Justin K. Price to the Zoning Board of Review as a full voting member with term expiration July 31st, 2029.
I'll second it. Any council discussion? All right, we'll go for a vote. Counselor Dinsmore.
Yes.
Madnick.
yes,
Palmigano.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
And myself, yes. Thank you for becoming a full member. All right, on to the discussion and consideration of appointment of Phil D'Amicis for appointment to the Rich Task Force as a planning board member.
Motion to approve the application of Phil D'Amicis for the appointment to the Rich Task Force as a planning board member.
Second.
Any council discussion on this one?
Just
All
again, thanking Mr. D'Amicis for stepping up. It's a wonderful, and as we thanked Carl Kutu for his input and his resignation with regret, but thanking Phil for stepping up. He's going to be a
For sure,
huge value add to that organization. So thank you.
definitely.
Yep.
We'll go for a roll call vote. Counselor Dinsmore.
Yes.
Madnick.
yes,
Palmigano.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
And myself, yes. All right. On to our consent agenda. Does anybody have anything they'd like to pull?
Yes.
Sure.
1A, please.
1A. Any others? All right, can we have a motion to approve everything except 1A?
motion to approve consent agenda items 1B, 2A through H, and 3.
Second.
All right, any council discussion? Go for a vote. Counselor Dinsmore. Did you have a question on them?
I thought one of them didn't have a, I see them now.
Okay.
Yes.
Madnick.
Yes,
Palmigano.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
And myself, yes. All right, I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda item 1A.
Second.
All right, we'll go for our roll call vote. Counselor Dinsmore,
Yes.
is this the one you weren't there?
Abstaining.
Abstain.
Abstain, sorry.
Madnick.
yes,
Palmigano.
Abstain.
Reynolds.
Yes.
And myself, yes. All right. We are moving right along. On to public forum. The purpose of public forum is to give members of the public an opportunity to address the town council about items not on the agenda. We ask you to limit your comments to 3 minutes. You will have one opportunity to address the council during public forum. This is out of courtesy for others who wish to speak to ensure we have equal time for all. There will be a timer that will go off when your 3 minutes are up, so you know when to finish. If you need more time, we welcome you to submit your comments in writing to the town clerk to be included as a part of the record in the communications section of the agenda. All comments should be directed to the president and not any other person present. So with that, do we have anybody for a public forum? Or anybody online? Oh, yes, go ahead. Please state your name for the record. I have a new phone, so the timer might sound different. I don't know what it's gonna sound like. We'll see.
You have a new phone?
We'll see what the timer sounds like.
Helen Sheehan for Richmond. A few things, I did not bring my timer up here, so when my 3 minutes are up, just let me know. So last Sunday, there was a community unity event held outside the town hall. I thought it was like a new age thing. But people were carrying No Kings sign. So I don't think it was appropriate for that to be held at the town hall. We have a president who was elected, legally elected by the voters of the country and by the electoral college. So I don't think the town should call it community unity or held on the town, in the town hall. I'd also like to thank our solicitor, Mr. Zangari, for his report on door-to-door salesmen. So it is a report, so I don't know if I can't mention about the report. Should I do that later?
It is on the agenda. We'll take public comment at that time after we have the chance to discuss it.
Okay,
We might answer your questions, you
all
know.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure, go ahead, Mr. Mayor. You can go ahead, Mr. Mayor. But do state your name for the record.
Good evening, Thomas Marin, Wyoming. I was looking forward to coming to this meeting to receive your report, progress report, really two progress reports. One on the status of the search, the great search for the town administrator. I didn't see it on the agenda. Do you have a report?
We'll be discussing it in executive session today. It is on the agenda for that.
And do you have an idea as to when you'll actually make a decision?
We'll see how many applicants the search committee recommended and go from there, but I'm with you that we should make a decision sooner rather than later.
If I may, Madam President?
Oh, yeah, sure, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to say that, when we started that search process, the expectation that we set was that we're hoping to have some kind of final decision by the Thanksgiving time or early December, and I do believe we're on target to achieve that.
Thank you.
Good luck with that. As a recruiter, 22 years as a recruiter around the country with major corporations, waiting 5 months to fill a key executive position, the #1 position in an organization, the most highly paid position in an organization, seems a little bit derelict of duty or something's up. Something's up. Anyway,
If I may respond, because I am the liaison from the council to that, I'll just say that I have 20 years of HR experience in recruiting as well, and I've hired over 1,000 individuals into a Fortune 500 company. And I can tell you, we've done the diligence, and this group we put together spared nothing to make sure we did it objectively, and we did our due diligence. And what I can't share the details, I can tell you, it has had no impact on the quality and the number of the applicants that the council will be reviewing. 0. So there was no impact. We did our due diligence, and I just want to make sure the people that I served with were fantastic, and they did a lot of work, hours and hours and hours of interviews. So I just don't want to have that diminished.
All right, we got 1 minute
thank you for
left.
that. And the other thing I came here for was to find out what's going on with Cherry Hill Plaza. You know, the rumors abound, housing, low-income housing, many South County Commons, solar fields. I mean, you name it, the rumors are out there. And people are saying, even Ben Carr said, there's something going on. We're working on it. We're working on it with the state. So that was a year ago she said that. And so I'm interested in knowing what's going on. Can you tell the people what's going on? And rumors are that 2 people from the council are working with Capstone to work up a deal, some kind of a deal. I don't know if that's true, but those are the rumors. And just as a reminder of rules for thee, but not for me, a couple of people on this council a couple of years ago chastised 2 other council members for talking to Capstone. You can't do that. Who authorized you to do that? They chastised them and they virtually crucified them. So what's going on with Cherry Hill Plaza? Not for me, but for the sake of the people.
Yeah, if and when that's gonna go on the agenda, it will. That's our 3-minute timer. That's actually some good time. So we'll get to that when we can. Thank you. We're not gonna go into the back and forth. That's why we have all council,
All right.
all questions go to the council. Thank you, President.
Thank you. Good job.
All right. On to reports. Oh, we have one more. Go ahead.
Good evening, Alex Richmond, Republican Town Committee. So sorry to beat a dead horse, but the scuttlebutt in the town is about that piece of property. So my only question to you would be if we could have more transparency and what that might look like. It's just a little frustrating when you hear from realtors and, business guys in town talking. I just I think the people should know, so thank you.
Thank you. Sure, go ahead. Please state your name for the record, but we know it.
Gary Parker of Richmond. Madam President, thank you very much for having our two guests here today for the new EDC, members of the EDC. Appreciate you getting them on the agenda so quickly and getting them appointed. They're phenomenal individuals, both of them, and we're also losing a phenomenal individual in Jim Breer. So want to just publicly thank Jim for his years of service, not just to the EDC, but to the entire town.
Yeah.
And so anyway, we're grateful to have some volunteers who are willing to step up and bring some new ideas to the EDC. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else on public or online? All right, now we'll go on to reports.
Okay.
Yep.
Good evening. So my first item is a request for authorization to promote Brandy Chapman to Deputy Finance Director / tax collector. She's our current tax collector. The last few months, finance has gone under some restructuring, and Brandy has come to us just shy of a year and has brought some amazing experience with her. And so in consultation, we did advertise for a deputy finance individual, but we had a gem right here in our own town resource staff. So in conjunction with Danielle, this is a group recommendation for council to authorize Brandy for that promotion. Brandy is here.
Thank you. Do we have a motion for this item? All right, I'll make a motion to promote Brandy Chapman to the deputy, as Deputy Finance Director / tax collector. Sorry, I'm too fast. Any council discussion?
Just, I think it's important to note that it was stated that this is no impact to the budget.
Thank you. We'll go for a roll call vote. Counselor Dinsmore,
Yes.
Madnick,
Yes.
Palmigano,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
and myself, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So my next item, it does, technically it is a new position. However, it was formerly held in a different role. So I felt it important to come to council to request that authorization to advertise. With Brandy's promotion, it will cause a vacancy in tax collection. So we're just requesting authorization to solicit for a part-time finance clerk at 18-hour position, which actually will reduce the current level of our budget for that full department line item.
Awesome. Can we have a motion on this one?
Motion to authorize the town administrator to advertise for a part-time finance clerk.
Second.
We have our motion, our second. Any council discussion?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I just want to add that, this is a big effort town to make our town staff in the way the town operates more efficient, something that Councilor Dinsmore and myself have been working with the current interim town administrator and the rest of the staff. And it's nice to finally see this come to fruition after a year of effort. So trying to make our town more efficient, still be able to provide all the same level of service that our residents and non-residents expect. So this is good. Good to see moving forward.
Awesome. All right, we'll go for our vote. Counselor Dinsmore,
Yes.
Madnick,
Yes.
Palmigano,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
and myself, yes. Until letter C.
Great. So my next is two parts. So unfortunately, we've had two public works personnel out on injury. And so there is currently an advertisement for a seasonal public works position. And that is a 40-hour position from whenever it's going to close, actually November 28th. So it's another advertising component to fill through April to help offset our short-staffed in public works, especially during our winter operations, but not only winter operations for our day-to-day. So another advertising component that we are soliciting for a seasonal position to fill during that vacancy, as well as the town is seeking snowplow drivers and vendors for our winter season. Please reach out to Public Directors Robar at the phone number. It just came to my attention that I don't think it's on the sign, but it's on the website, 539-8474. We do have applications available, not only online, but in the town clerk's office as well. So in order to help aid our Public Works Department during snowfall operations and to not have any of our safety in our roads and what residents of our town have come to accustom. We're gonna need some more seasonal plow vendors. So please consider applying today. So that's kind of a reach out there.
Awesome. Thank you. You have a question?
Just one quick question on that.
Yeah.
Erin, even though it's a seasonal public works position, and it's full-time, will it include benefits?
Yes, it will during that time frame, but it depends on whoever's filling it. So if someone, I guess that's a conditional appointment. So I don't want to go in too much of the weeds, but it may. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Just like depending if the person needs it, then they'll.
That and depending on other circumstances.
All right.
We can go into I don't want to go into.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll go on to, yeah, sure.
I don't know if you can answer this, Erin, but do the contractors that we hire to plow, do they also vault?
So yeah, so certain vendors that we're hiring, so that's important, is that we're looking for vendors that can operate in our trucks that we have that are equipped for both plowing and salting, as well as we're looking for vendors who have the equipment set up, and Gary can speak to that's why we're having him reach out, the specific need on that. But so yes, it's a two-part. Some we're looking for drivers and some we're looking for vendors that have trucks. And so if their trucks, some are just pushing off and may not need salt. So that's why those specifics should go through Gary. But if they're operating in some of our trucks, then yes, salting would be required. All of that.
Thank you. See no other questions. We'll go on to the next item.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the transfer station and bridging some of the financial gap in that we've looked a lot. We adjusted the fees a few months ago. We're coming back after further review that some of our fees are not in line with our surrounding communities. Demo fees is our largest item, and it's actually probably our largest haul out item, and we're not in line with the other communities. So I call it demo, but it's under construction demolition. So we're recommending that be adjusted to 165 per ton versus 150. Air conditioners were previously part of a free program. They're no longer free. So now we need to charge for those air conditioners disposed on site. That's 20. We're trying to define tires. We get tractor, lawnmower tires, different kinds of tires. And so sometimes making it fit in the current category, it's not a car tire. So we wanted to further define that. However, the largest change to this, and we've had communications with the town of Hopkinton to notify them of this upcoming change should this pass, is reducing our hours for our transfer station in the operations currently without running a contractor or whether having a full staffed DPW or transfer station personnel. We're open nearly 5 days a week if you're counting the hauler. So we're open to the public 4 days, and then Monday our vendor comes to haul out. And so in an effort to become more efficient, to try and reduce those costs, we're looking at reducing it a day. And so instead of Tuesday, Thursday, we're looking at being open Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday. The weekends are our busiest. Obviously, we don't want to impact residents on that. However, there's a cost associated being open on a Sunday, but that is not something I think the council or residents would be palatable. So to try and bridge that gap in staffing and to try and reduce our costs and become more efficient, we're looking at reducing the hours and being open Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday. So this is just authorization to advertise. Certainly, I'd like to add to that language, and I don't believe this current version had that, but be effective after the first of the year to allow, should council approve this, and should it after public forum that take place, but to allow for signage, proper notification. Hopkinton has already been notified that this is coming. But based on our use, based on now we are we're growing in our transfer station operations and we want to find a way to become more in the black and more efficient. So this is just another way we believe that we'll be able to achieve that.
Thank you. Can we have a motion on this before we get into discussion?
I'll make a motion to authorize the town clerk to advertise for public hearing. Ordinance amendments to 8.18.030 entitled Transfer Station.
Second.
We have our motion and our second. Did you have something you wanted to
Yeah,
say?
I just want to, I think you referenced this, but I just want to make sure it's clear because it's not clear from the red line version of the ordinance. So we're eliminating Tuesday and Thursday, but we're adding Wednesday. So Wednesday is an addition, not something that was already there.
Correct.
Okay, so we're only losing one day now.
So we're only losing one day.
That's,
But we wanted to bridge the gap. We didn't want, we had talked about maybe doing Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Our vendor hauls out on Monday. Staffing wise, that makes a really great choice. However, we felt for the public that might, for those who like to utilize a weekday, that might be too big of a stretch. So this is something, to be open Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday to the public, and then, our hauler, it's open
Right.
Mondays and we have to staff it accordingly. So it'll allow for, currently we're short staffed, so we have some overtime costs happening. And it would allow the personnel to have 2 days off
Right.
in a row, which are working a weekend, and we know that is a difficult fill anyway, so.
Thank you. I had something I wanted to ask as well. If we could go, I know you're sending out notices after the public hearing, but I think we should send out notices before the public hearing as well. Letting people know that there's an opportunity to have their voice heard on these changes. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. It could literally just be a half-page notice, even similar to the one that's right in your letter there. Just copy and paste of that little paragraph there and give it to people who come to the transfer station on Tuesdays and on Thursdays. As soon as you can get that up and running up until the public hearing. That way, if somebody's really against it or really excited about it, that they can let us know.
Yes, we did discuss that. I think we certainly can provide that, and part of it, they've been working really hard. I want to give a shout out to Ricky, who's done a great job to provide materials that are more user friendly and that spells out exactly where everything goes and what the cost is, and so we can insert that for sure. But I wanted to make sure we gave time.
Yeah.
Should it be implemented?
Right.
But I agree that maybe some more public notice. But we believe we'd have more pitchforks and axes should we have gotten rid of a weekend day than a weekday. So we believe this is a palatable solve for all.
Awesome. Any other council? Yes, you're good.
No, I just want to echo the thank you to Ricky because he like knows all the ins and outs and everything. How many people come, what people. So yeah, his data and his knowledge of what goes on down there helps a lot. So
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Sure.
Yeah, Aaron, just 2 points of clarification. One, on the website, it says that the transfer station's open Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday. So it just seemed to me that reading the ordinance, that the ordinance and the website weren't congruent.
There was a few discrepancies that we're adjusting.
All right.
Yes.
And then just to clarify, do you know what the anticipated savings will be by closing one day?
Right. It's hard because we're approaching it from a few different avenues. We're trying to bridge a gap and last fiscal year, it's not a secret. We're about $73,000 in the red. And that's after Hopkinson's contributions. So at the last meeting, Councilman Dinsmore, authorized us to renegotiate those terms, and we've been looking at the usage on that. I think the largest component is we've grown. Typically, our operations was managed by one person. That is, we've had some concerns with rejected loads. We've had some concerns with garbage and directing people, and I believe it's too enormous of a task, whether it was one town or two towns, to have one individual managing the entire operations of a transfer station, especially with the mechanical components that are involved. I think there's a safety issue there. So we've had two personnel there for a while. So we're not seeing those numbers yet since there's been two personnel and we have some overtime costs. But the other way we're looking at it is we have a So our fees, I'm sorry, let me go back. So our fees will be adjusted several ways in increasing some of our rates, which we did a few months ago, and we looked again, you know, construction demo debris is our largest probably export, and that's because we gate, I mean, it's hard to tell, but we're the cheapest in the area, so people are coming here. So we want to make sure we're in line so that we're covering those costs. Two, obviously usage and efficiencies. The weekends are a highly utilized day. And so we want to make sure that we're offering that to our residents and making sure that we have efficient, safe operations and personnel. And then looking at, okay, what is Hopkinton's share? So that there's a three-way approach we're looking at to this, but also we're looking at it as a staffing point. Our Public Works Department not only does our roads and plowing and does our grounds and supports boards and commissions and does so many, they wear so many hats. And but they also run the day-to-day operations of a transfer station, and being short-staffed and having to combat that and having all the other services. Right now, I don't know of any other approach to do that besides having some magical influx of personnel. So we're looking at becoming more efficient and having the operations be constricted to 3 days of personnel and supported an additional half day by our haulers. And then that way we still have 2 individuals that can take time off 2 days and not have overtime costs, but can also support the other public works. So we're kind of, you know, there's no real monetary amount we can put on it at this point, but we do believe it's more about spreading out the fact that our personnel is short-staffed and that we do know that currently our transfer station is running in the red. So we're looking at different ways to address that. So we hope by budget cycle time, we'll have some real solid numbers once these fees have had some time. You know, and it's also going to give Hopkinton some time to look at their budget. Where, you know, I don't think we're not going to address their payment in time for our budget cycle, but I think we'll have some more solid numbers to see how we're tracking with these new fees and our staffing changes to not have these overtime costs.
Awesome. Counselor Dinsmore, had something you want to add?
Yeah, I think you probably wouldn't see anything until after spring and summer next year, because those are the times where everybody's, you know, fall cleanups. People are, you know, weather's better, they're building more, you know, they're just doing stuff, you know, around the house, and we'll get more demolition in the summer. So probably not, I think probably till after that.
Interesting,
that's
thank
fine.
you.
I mean, using your expertise at Westerly to bring it to the town of Richmond and save ourselves $73,000. I mean, that's a lot of money. Reducing the burden on our staff. I mean, all of this is great for our town. I mean, this is something we've had to look into for a while, and I'm glad that staff and Councilor Dinsmore put so much effort into this.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we do have our motion and our second. Any other council discussion? We'll go for a vote. Counselor Dinsmore,
Yes.
Madnick,
Yes.
Palmigano.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
And myself, yes. Thank you so much for your report, Erin. We'll go on to our Human Services Director report. She's online. Awesome.
Hi, Council. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Sorry, I am home today with a sick child, so I appreciate you letting me Zoom in. I'm requesting to apply for the second round of our Math Matters grant, which is in the amount of $20,000 to provide our youth math outside of school learning opportunity. This will be the third round of Learn 365 Math Matters. And I'm requesting approval to go ahead and apply.
Thank you. Can we have a motion on this item?
Yeah, motion to approve applying for round 2 of Math Matters grant program.
Okay.
Any council discussion? Oh, sure, go ahead.
Just, I know we don't have the grant yet, Kate, but just a question, the description you gave says it includes transportation. So where do you anticipate this program being conducted?
Great. So this past summer, we had transportation, and this next program can include transportation in this grant funding. We are looking into our opportunities right now, either as an after-school program or potentially like a recreation type vacation camp program during April and February vacation.
Okay, so so you don't, it's just, can be something that's included in what we do, but we're not necessarily going to need it.
Correct. I mean, most of the programs, every time we've gone for this grant and have created programs, we've tried to include transportation because transportation is an issue here.
Thank you. All right. So you did make a motion, correct? We have our second.
I did.
Any further discussion? We'll go for our vote. Counselor Dinsmore,
Yes.
Madnick,
Yes.
Palmigano,
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
and myself, yes. All right, thank you, Kate. On to unfinished business. We have the request for forming a climate resiliency commission. We have a revised draft ordinance here. I have a motion for a revision that I'm gonna throw on the floor for discussion. And then if there's any other revisions or suggestions, we can do some additional motions on the item. I'm gonna make a motion to revise the draft ordinance to remove the EMA director and any other staff from being a member or having to attend the Climate Resiliency Commission. Have a second at least for discussion?
Second?
Thank you. So I wanted to, and I mentioned this during last meeting, I don't think that we should require the EMA director to attend all the time. But I do think that if they're working in collaboration, with him, that he could come occasionally or as needed. And I say that because we've had other staff members go to commission meetings and we found it to be really burdensome. But I don't want it to be codified in our ordinances that it is really burdensome. I did attend the Charlestown Climate Resiliency Commission last week on Thursday, just to kind of learn from them what they're doing and what we can do. And there wasn't an EMA director there. They don't have their EMA director coming. So I know I said it last time, but I wanted to put it in official motion. That way I could hear from you guys. If you guys feel differently about it, we could go about it differently. Yeah, sure.
We had this, to continue. One of the reasons I thought this was on the agenda tonight was to afford the opportunity for the EMA director to come here and to speak from their perspective on both their involvement, but also the concept in general. So that, that's what I was hoping to hear from them, irrespective of the parameters you put in your motion.
Okay. Any other council discussion before we go to our EMA director?
Well, let's hear from him first.
Well, I think I'd like to be given the opportunity to actually discuss this.
That's why I'm asking. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, you start with the motion, then you beg people for a second, which I think is inappropriate. I mean, typically if no one seconds, and that's the end of the discussion, but we're already here, so let's discuss this.
Well, I think honestly, we should be having a motion to discuss typically. I know we don't always do it, but sometimes it's easier just to make sure opinions are heard.
We don't have to be consistent all the time.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there's multiple purposes for this, and based on a last discussion, I took everyone's input and revised it, and this is the revision that's here. Just to go through it real quick so people know what was changed, because the version that was presented to the public now doesn't have the track changes. So made the modification from 60% of the members to 4, made a preference on the commission given to Richmond residents with a maximum of 3 non-residents appointed to the commission. One of the requests was if the EMA director was not able to participate in the public meeting, then the deputy director could be there, but we're going to discuss removing that tonight. Changed the requirement to have the commission organized annually by selecting a chair, vice chair, and secretary, and added a line in the technical assistance about seeking grant opportunities for the town. And same thing with crop agreements, which is financial assistance for the municipality. So back to the reasons why I think it's important to have this. So right now, in terms of one part is like the hazard mitigation plan, the other part of it is environmental climate issues that affect Richmond. We don't have any leader in place to handle this stuff. There's no like one body or no one person that's in charge. And, some people have brought up to me, oh, why don't you put someone in charge? Well, if you do that, if you don't have someone already on staff, you have to pay someone. And a volunteer commission can be useful because you can get experts that will help the town that you don't have to pay. And part of it is you can set up the commission, and if things work out, things work out. If things don't, you can disband it, no cost to the town. By law, we have to revise a hazard mitigation plan in 2 years anyway, in 2027. And previously we had an ad hoc hazard mitigation committee. So we'd have to be putting one together anyway next year. So I just feel like it's important that we start now, and we can just put one into force that has like a little more teeth on, that can do a little more for the town. I think it also, the commission kind of gives like a body for residents to contact if there are issues or ideas that they have. Right now, we don't have anyone, again, that residents can reach out to and say, hey, I got this issue. Has anyone considered this? So now you put a volunteer commission together and there's contacts for people to talk with. We have that right now with the Economic Development Commission, Planning Board, things of that nature. It's really, I think, not appropriate to assign a lot of the hazard mitigation responsibilities and climate issues to the EMA director, deputy directors. They're part-time. In fact, I wouldn't even consider them part-time. They have a very small stipend. The EMA director is paid like $9,000 a year. I mean, hardly enough time and effort for the EMA director to really like sink their teeth into doing these things, along with the deputy directors. The commission isn't meant to replace the EMA director or the deputy. It's meant to help and supplement and to help them execute on some of the things that they'd like to do with the town. And I think that's pretty much it. I mean, I think it's going to be helpful to the town. I'd like to see it move forward. I'd like to get input if people, have different things that they want the town to look into regarding this. But I think the town can get a lot out of it. And again, we're gonna need something like this for the hazard mitigation plan anyway. It's required by law to be updated every 5 years. And so in order to get state and federal support, we have to do this. So we don't really have a choice.
All right. Any other council discussion before I go to Jim second time, either of you? All right, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. And I think the question that we'll want to understand too from the EMA director is that, seeing what's the expectation of this, if these duties are being done already, if they're not being done, would they be done through this mechanism? So that on an annual basis, we have that kind of reporting. So I think that's just the great benefit of having them here to speak to that.
Yeah. All right. Nick, you're up. While he's coming to the podium, I do agree with everything he said regarding why we need to set it up and the importance of having a body to work on this. I think it's going to be useful. Sure, go ahead. Do state your name for the record.
Nicholas Lenacree,
Thank you.
EMA director. So still trying to get some clarification on exactly what the resiliency committee is going to be doing. And I obviously heard what Councilor Matnick was just trying to say and what the plans are for it. Talking with other EMA directors from the area, more specifically Charlestown, because I'm close friends with him. He has not been involved at all in their committee at all. I don't know if it was because he's new to the town or if it's because he's trying or they're not inviting him or whatever it may be. But the hazard mitigation plan is due. It's actually due to be started this year. It's supposed to be every 3 to 5 years that's renewed. I've been working on trying to get everything sorted out for what we currently have. Obviously, we're still in the current plan. With that, a lot of it does, while it's technically listed under the EMA director, a lot of it does fall on other departments. There's only, I think it's 4 or 5 actual items that fall under EMA director. And everything else either falls under planning, DPW, or I know one was DOT, DEM, things of that nature. So trying to actually figure out what is needed from the EMA perspective. I know other towns are using the hazard mitigation plan from the planner themselves, and the planner's handling it all. So I just want to try to get a better picture of what we're doing with the plan. I've been, like I said, just tackling as much as I can with it. I am a stipend employee, so trying to manage time effectively is huge.
Yeah.
So
I actually think you just supported one of the premises for doing this is that you have a lot of responsibilities. And I think having a group of people help you execute them would be really beneficial to you. You don't necessarily have to lead them. I mean, that's not the intention of this. I figured your expertise would be helpful with it. But it seems like a little bit of direction, having a commission help, volunteers of the town help do this would be, I mean, the housing mitigation is gonna be one part of it, but this commission could help drive where we're going with it as well through their work. So I think all of it would be beneficial, especially to maybe relieve you of some of the extra duties that you're doing as well.
I have a question as well on something you had said. With the renewal of the hazard mitigation plan, that's coming up soon. This commission, while they could be a part of it, I really liked how the last time when it came around for renewal and they had the workout group, the breakout groups of different members from the community. I believe Chief Johnson was there. We had chief from the fire department. We had different members from the planning board. I was there as a conservation commission member. And there were a lot of other, like land trust was there. So it had all the different volunteers coming in and giving the feedback of what we hear. And I think members of this group would also benefit from being a part of that renewal process, but I don't know if it would necessarily be their charge.
I 100% agree. And the biggest reason behind that is like you said, there are a lot of commissions that are involved in this. Conservation Commission, Land Trust, DOT, DEM.
So many.
So many different commissions and departments that have to be involved in the hazard mitigation plan. There's a lot of state roads that run through. There's a lot of state land, different commissions, Wood River Pawcatuck watershed. All that has to be involved in it. And if we delegate it to specifically one commission, I don't think it'll cover everything.
Are you saying you don't think the commission knows how to communicate?
I'm not saying that at all, but I'm just trying to say that I don't think it should fall under specifically one commission. I think that should fall under my guidelines to help get everybody into the same room together and communicate.
Because I mean, if people are hard pressed on the hazard mitigation plan being in this, you just take it out. I mean, there's more that the commission is going to be.
That's totally fine. I was
plus
just
they do.
trying to kind of spread light on everything with it, so.
I mean, can you explain to the public what in the hazard mitigation plan has actually been executed since it's been last revised?
Yeah, I presented it to you guys.
Since
back
that's
in
not on the
June.
agenda, should we not be discussing that
Well,
though? Because
I think it's important to know because if we're not actually doing anything with the HMP, then I think we need another mechanism to actually execute on it.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
this could be a part of that.
So I had presented it to the town, May 30th, actually.
Right.
Was the date that I presented that plan to with updates. Trying to obviously navigate through everything has been costly, and obviously we're trying to get everything done that we can. We still have another 2 years technically within that plan.
go ahead, Mark.
So just, and I'm not sure who to ask this question to. I'm just trying to get educated. How was the hazard mitigation plan, the last one, formulated? What was the process? Anybody know?
So I was not anywhere near this one.
Was there was there this ad hoc committee?
Yeah,
Okay.
so it was driven, I will say, from the former planner, Sean Lacy, and the previous email director was brought into that part, and then the various boards and committees were formed to have a buy-in, but the leader of the hazard mitigation revaluation was previous. But I think it's some of the conversation with regards to this initiative, which I think maybe Nick, you can put some light on, is there's a full EMA task force that's not really a committee that's appointed, but it's members of our community that meet certain public safety components that not a lot of detail should go in because of some of the details that are provided in it. But I think it's important that some of this conversation about not just hazard mitigation, but maybe what this committee would be doing separation from climate resiliency is maybe happening with this task force in addition to the hazard mitigation. And I don't want to speak for Nick, and maybe you can shed some light onto that without.
Yeah, so we have a task force that comprises of the three So myself and the two deputy directors, the two fire chiefs that are in control for Richmond, police chief, EMS chief, DPW director, town administrator, and a few other key members that tend to help us get through. Basically, when we have our task force meetings, it's where we stand on critical things within the town. If there's any major concerns that are maybe security risks or potentially fire risks or EMS, or whatever it may be, major events that are happening, plans that are occurring. We meet quarterly. We just had a meeting recently. Nothing critical was discussed, but there is some stuff in discussion I don't want to get into just because it does involve state and security stuff. But we're just trying to keep moving forward with that.
We did have the town planner wanted to chime in as well, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
And I think I saw Chief Johnson, maybe, after Talia.
Hi, Gillette Town Planner. So
Yes.
I would be remiss if I did not mention that there was a consultant that was also heavily involved in the
Yes.
creation of this plan. Beta Group, they actually prepared the plan. They facilitate a lot of the workshops. Obviously, the planner is integral to this process, but it was not something that was just done exclusively by a singular party. As Nick has mentioned, there are many, many different people who are involved in the process, but Beta Group was the one that actually prepared it.
Awesome. Thank you. And Chief, did you have something you wanted to add as well?
Just wanted to bring that up, with Jonathan back of the room. So Sean spearheaded for the town, but there was a consultant facilitating that conversation. And you had various subject matter experts, like Chief Barber, who knows every inch, every land mass, water. And we kind of hashed it out together, broke it down into segments and tackled those things individually. And then we meet regularly, but the facilitator was instrumental.
All right. So we do have a motion on the floor, where it was just for one part of this, and then we could discuss the hazard mitigation plan separately. I just wanted the actions within this ordinance to just be clear, on what we're doing to go forward. So did anybody have anything else they wanted to add? I think, you got something, Councilor Palmigano?
Yes, thank you. So the motion on the floor is to remove the involvement of the EMA director. And I'm still trying to, and I want to.
I'd like to
Am I-
clarify, no.
Removing it from involvement in this,
Mm-mm.
but clarify. please.
It's just that I don't want to make them like a permanent member of the group. But if and when the group is just talking about the hazard mitigation plan and they want his input or need his input, then they can invite him. Similar to how we had our town planner going to 4 or 5 town meetings. And then we were like, well, not always needed at those meetings. So we said, we still want you to attend, but you're not required to attend. And we put that in writing. That way we could free up, her time during the day, and, we're not taking up too much time as a stipend employee. So I do think that, your input will be valuable to this group, but I think that having to be a member and showing up monthly may not be necessary. Sure, go ahead, Councilor.
I was.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
If I
No, I'm
could-
sorry.
No,
Question.
thank you for that clarification
Linear.
on that point. I was just looking at, based on the way it was written and what you had said, it would remove them from the written involvement, but certainly they would have input. I also just want to recognize, I think, as is always the case, Councilor Madnick puts a lot of work into these things. There's a lot of information and research provided. It is more for food of thought sometimes for us to ruminate on. But I also, so now we have the EMA director who has helped us to understand how he's working collaboratively with different groups to address certain issues from a hazard mitigation piece. There's the climate resiliency proposal that's been put forward by Councilor Madnick. I would like to hear from him before we go to vote to reconcile his thoughts after hearing this, where he's landed, since he's been the driver on this. I know that Councilor Reynolds has, but I'd like to hear also from him after Councilor Reynolds is done. Thank you.
Go ahead, Councilor Reynolds.
Well, I think we're talking about a detail of a plan that we haven't agreed on, what commission that we haven't agreed on what the larger scope of their charge is going to be. So it doesn't make sense to me to be talking about this motion on who's going to be on a commission that we haven't even decided what this commission is going to do or if it's even going to exist. So I would encourage the move-on to withdraw her motion and to have the second withdrawn so we can figure out what this group is going to be before we decide who is going to be on it.
Councilman, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, no, I actually agree with, your point to not formalize having the e-merger involved. I thought it might be helpful, but again, like, as Jim said, I submit this stuff and I want to have debate and discussion about it. And, immediately it turns to, well, there are people attacking it. I'm like, that's not constructive at all, right? I hear through the grapevine that there are people in town that are like, oh, Councilor Madnick's trying to take my job. It's like, that's not true. So I want to state that clearly, but it's in section 50 here, it says duties. The duties of the Richmond Climate Resiliency Commission shall be to study and analyze issues and impacts of climate change and global warming, including but not limited to hurricanes, floods, wildfires, drought, deforestation, severe winter storms, and other weather-related events. Development of strategies, policy, and plans for mitigation of and adaptation to impacts from climate change and global warming. Commission shall undertake efforts and actions to preserve and improve the quality of life for Richmond residents and reduce or eliminate future detrimental climate change effects on the community that is within the capacity of local policies and actions. In addition, the commission shall undertake to disseminate information to town residents concerning the aforesaid impacts of climate change and global warming and the town's strategies, policies, and plans for mitigation of these impacts. So in summary, and I said this before, the town council is not formed of experts that know how to deal with these situations. Nothing to Nick. I respect Nick. He has a lot of expertise with what he does. He's not an expert in this stuff either. The hope was that, and I know for a fact, in this town, in the surrounding community, we have people that are experts in this type of stuff to help guide policy decisions. We need people to help the town make policy decisions to help our residents and protect life and property. We don't have that right now. That is the ultimate goal. That's the point. If the ordinance is not drafted to do that, then let's make changes to it. Because I'm not an expert in drafting ordinances. I took Charlestown's, I took some of the stuff from Hazard Mitigation Plan, I took stuff from the state and federal government, I put it together to something that sounded reasonable to me. That's it. So I'm hoping with this deliberative body and public input that we can get something that helps the community. If we don't think it's useful, we won't do it. It's not me. I'm only one person in the community.
All right, seeing no other council discussion, we'll go to our member of the public with his hand up.
Thank you.
I don't know. I want to say no.
Alex. Kendall. So just, seems unclear what this would be. And my concern is, what authority will they have? And if they tag team with the municipal court, what will that do to property rights? Thank you.
Can I ask how would you
Yeah.
imagine them tag teaming with the municipal court? Could you elaborate on
I
that?
don't know. It's both don't exist currently and both are coming, so that's just my concern. Protecting property rights and making sure that people who have land is not devalued or something in the future. If that's not a thing, then we don't.
The municipal court ordinances have been established, so
Okay.
it just, I know it hasn't had their first meeting yet, but it's there. So
Okay.
I don't understand how they would tag team.
Well, okay, so you mentioned policy, this climate resiliency dictating policy. Policy turns into law and then we might have issues.
The town council is a legislative body. The commission will submit ideas, policy positions. It's up to the council to decide that. In a year from now, this council may not be sitting here.
Sure.
So that commission could submit a policy to a new council that gets to decide what they want to do with it. And even after that, the council can change their policy. This stuff is not set in stone. And this has nothing to do with property rights.
And if it doesn't, then it doesn't. But if I'm just elaborating that there is a concern on my end, people with property who pay taxes, and maybe potentially through something, their property could be devalued and would then become worthless.
Thank you. Any further council discussion?
Not on the specific motion.
Okay.
You have someone.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
Thank you again, Madam President. Gary Parker, Richmond. Just thinking about, at first glance, you mentioned that, I guess in the previous hazard mitigation plan, there was a contractor that actually put that together. For my money, I'd rather have Counselor Madnick running a risk management plan than any contractor, especially since that saves the town money. So hats off there. Although I do want to ask, just in general, please, in the balance of risks and the balance of sort of the kinetic risks, I would imagine, especially, and Chief Barker would know about the 2010 floods, basically using that as a lesson learned. I mean, at least a place to start, because if I'm not speaking for the Councilor Madnick, but thinking along maybe the same lines, trying to look at the kinetic risks, the floods, the fires, the things like that, which I think there's a lot of mental energy being put towards that right now. Maybe having a kind of a body to think that through in an organized fashion might be a net good thing. To Alex's point regarding property rights, the one concern that might come up would possibly be if certain policies were put in place to, say, restrict certain uses or mandate certain behaviors on properties. Something subtle like that could be considered and construed an issue. And from a professional risk manager's perspective, that stuff is so far on the right tail in terms of like actual impacts on our response. It's irrelevant. I think we should be focusing on response and mitigation in the macro floods, bridges that get dammed up through ice and snow and things like that, rather than looking at the small stuff. So anyway, I applaud Councilor Madnick for his leadership, but definitely you need to think about how to manage that, what we're going to do with that. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. I understand the need or the request to withdraw the motion, but I just want to move it forward. That way I don't have to bring it up again later, as I think we've discussed it as we can. So if it fails, it failed, and then somebody else can bring it up later if they change their mind. So the motion was to remove the requirement of the EMA director to be a member of the group and other town employees as well. So we'll go for a roll call vote. Counselor Dinsmore,
Abstain.
Madnick,
Yes.
Palmigano,
No.
Reynolds,
Abstain.
and myself, yes. So then it passes, or it doesn't, because they are basically no's. Okay. All right, so we'll have another motion for some kind of amendment or action on the ordinance.
I mean, last time we discussed this, we didn't have motions to provide input. We just kind of
I was just
discussed it.
to find a clear way to move forward, but if anybody has a question, I guess we can discuss it as well. Sure, go ahead.
I'm just gonna throw this out there, just from taking all of this into account. It seems to me, based upon what's been shared, that having a commission like this be in charge of preparing the new hazard mitigation plan is not workable. There are too many other moving parts. It really involves town departments more than volunteers. And I don't see it as something that realistically should be within this group's duties. Monitoring, once it's in place, maybe monitoring its implementation and making recommendations towards implementation, yes, but I don't see this group as being suitable for developing the new hazard mitigation plan. I think, there was a process in place previously. Those that were involved can decide whether that was a good process or a bad process, and whether we want to follow the same model that we did last time, using a consultant for to get the feedback we needed from the meetings. So I guess that's number one. I would take the preparing the hazard mitigation plan out and in place. If you want to, it could be, like I said, monitoring and making suggestions concerning implementation of the plan. Number two, I would, and this is more subtle, I guess, we keep talking about the impacts of climate change and global warming. And, that's kind of a lightning rod thing. Well, what is from climate change? What isn't? What's global warming? Blah, blah, blah. I think it should more refer to the impacts of severe weather events, because clearly we had severe weather events. That's what we're trying to mitigate the risk of. And so I think making a reference to that as opposed to climate change and global warming is a better way to go about it. And that's really what we want to do. And we already are doing. And I guess this group would be more kind of a think tank on how to make changes or upgrades or whatever to minimize the risk of severe weather. And, you know, I also think, getting back to this issue with whether staff should be on or not, I think probably not, and it should be, you know, something in there that, you know, the commission can seek assistance and input of staff, you know, as needed, so they can invite someone to a meeting. We'd like to talk about whatever, you know, culverts, you know, and ask Gary or someone from DPW to come in. We like to talk about fire risk and have the EMA director come in and talk about, you know, so on an as needed basis, you know, they could, you know, we would, you know, something in here that, you know, town departments would cooperate, you know, with the commission, you know, as needed, that kind of thing. And so that's kind of my 2 cents on how to rework this. So I would suggest that, you know, we give some more input and it go back for further revision before we put it on for a public hearing. But that's just my opinion.
Okay, if you don't
It's summarized,
summarize what?
what he just said, I think.
Well, he just. All right,
Yeah,
sure, go
I
ahead.
think we have, he provided some really good input, so 4.XX.060 is the hazard mitigation plan. If we remove ABC, that recognizes that, and then we can put in, you know, the commission shall monitor the HMP and provide input to the responsible parties in the action plan. The first time this was brought up, we talked about climate and global warming, and it was a name, you know, the name was adopted from Charlestown. I mean, frankly, you toss that out, let's get away from the politics, climate change, global warming. No matter what, you gotta be proactive. And Gary put it's risk mitigation. So you gotta figure out how to handle this stuff regardless of what you want to call it. I mean, I don't care what you want to call it. Change the name for all I care. And then I think to Sam's point earlier, 4.XX.020, you remove B and you just say, commission can seek input and guidance from staff as needed.
Perfect. I think it's great. I want to just echo Mark's concerns with the hazard mitigation plan. When we had initially discussed it and I looked into it, I had thought that they would provide more guidance and input versus doing an adoption. So I wouldn't think that they would take over adopting it. So I think switching 0.060 to that would be perfect. And yeah, that's all I have for now. I don't see any hands on that side of the table, but if we want to put it, I just like to put it in the form of a motion so it's clear that what we're doing, that way there's no miscommunication.
All right, I'll make a motion to direct town staff and or Counselor Madnick to revise the proposed ordinance to remove those duties relative to establishing a new hazard mitigation plan and in place insert language concerning the commission monitoring and or making recommendations for implementation. And also removing the requirement of town staff being members of the commission, but rather being an advisory role as requested. I think that's pretty, and removing references to climate change and global warming, and in place refer to severe weather events.
Thank you so much. Second. I just think like 2 weeks with this item here, I'm not gonna not say it, but we do have, you know, a member of council who's abstaining, said no before, so I think that this will help Councilor Dinsmore have his voice be heard. You know, if we just have like a consensus we don't really know if that's a true consensus. That's another reason I like motions when we can do them. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to add before we go to a vote?
Would you like to change the name of it? For removing discussions about global warming and climate, we want to change the name of the commission. We could call it like the Severe Hazards Commission.
How about infrastructure resilience? I don't know. I don't know.
Anyone in the
I
audience?
think we asked.
I'm okay with-
Ask ChatGPT. Load the ordinance up and say, what should we name this?
Oh,
I'm okay with the word climate because climate exists. It is here. So.
All right.
I don't know.
we'll see what AI has, but I'm gonna put that.
We'll see what it comes back with.
Yeah, Gary has some.
Sure, yeah, sure. Head to the podium, because I take the microphone.
Crowdsource. Here we go.
Yep,
Hey, so we're here.
Oh,
we'll put a new poll out, taking suggestions. from
That's
everyone.
right, that's right. Actually, just was thinking, Madam President,
Yes.
Gary, Richmond, just thinking natural disaster response plan. I mean, it is nature predominantly. It is a response. It's a plan. And it's ultimately going to be a plan. We call them in flying a pre-mishap plan. So we expect the mishap to happen. We put a plan in place.
Mhm.
99% of it is going to be responsive rather than necessarily, I mean, there'll be proactivity obviously in the planning of this, of course, ma'am, but how much we can actually affect here would be the engineer, having engineering assessments of the rivers and the bridges, and things like that, stuff that doesn't get washed out, roads that don't get washed out, things like that. And yeah, so natural disaster response plan sounds good to me.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Any other name suggestions or public input? Sure, go
I think
ahead.
That might be a state plan. Okay.
Might be. Okay. All right, so
Be Richmond's.
we'll go for our roll call vote. Counselor Dinsmore,
Abstain.
Madnick,
Yes.
O'Shannell.
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
and myself, yes. All right, so do we have any other motions or discussion on this before we go to the next? All right, seeing none, we'll go to a request from Counselor Palmigano for discussion of amending the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 5.20.
Great. So now that we got the difficult one out of the way, first of all, I want to thank Solicitor Zangari for doing the work of putting together the memorandum. He and it's attached. Thank you, Nick. Detached, and he leads us through an understanding of the potential risk from litigation that we could bring upon ourselves if we move in a direction of banning altogether door-to-door sales. And Solicitor, I don't want to speak on your behalf, but I think you lay it out pretty clearly, and I read through that information. Still, I think there's an opportunity for compromise, and one of the things that I've done as far as the research, of course, the document was open and now it closes. There's certainly there is a neighboring community, as we're all aware, Westerly, that does have its prohibition of this. I did reach out to Westerly. I was not able to connect. I don't know if Solicitor, you've talked with anyone there, but they have it in their ordinances to ban door-to-door sales. Now, that may or may not be legal. There could be a challenge to that. It just hasn't happened yet. But I think what would be more prudent would be an approach where we're not banning door-to-door sales. Plus, there's been some input from people who want this. But what I'd like to propose, and again, this is a discussion on this, and it would be a recommendation to submit some of my thoughts for potentially a draft ordinance. But essentially, what I have, and let me just scroll through here, bear with me, is for an ordinance called a no-knock registry. And essentially, and that is something that keeps you out of legal hot water. And essentially, creating a do not knock registry is an example of an opt-in system. In the past, I've been in favor of everybody being a blanket opt-out, and then you have to register if you want to have door-to-door sales. That action actually does bring in different elements of First Amendment rights, and it can be dangerous there. So the do not knock would allow a simple form for a resident to fill out the form, which is their name, address, and that they do not want to have door-to-door sales at their location. It would be, and again, it would be managed by the clerk's office, and it would be a simple Excel export. It would also be something that would be available to local law enforcement, so that if someone came to someone's house and they say, look, I'm not on the, you're not supposed to be here, I'm on the list that they should have checked, then they can file a complaint to law enforcement, and law enforcement would be involved or informed. Solicitor, yes. Sorry.
Do you want to throw a motion on the floor for discussion? Usually I ask. for
Yeah,
feel of motion.
sorry. I'd like to introduce a motion to submit a draft for a no-knock registry ordinance to be enacted after review of legal counsel and counsel.
Here, go ahead.
That's a
Counselor
motion, is there a
Zangari.
second?
Oh, second, and we'll go to Zangari.
Yeah, I think, and on, you can piggyback on that also with that opt-in form. You can make that when you, assuming you still want to have people come in for the license, still there, you can make that part of the licensing process. That they are going to sign a certification that they understood that there's a no-knock list. They've got a copy of that list. They can affirmatively acknowledge it. So they got actual notice of the list. And if they violate it, you'll know that they did so intentionally. You can
Yeah.
make that part of it.
Yeah, thank you. And this is a compromise where it meets the needs of both. It, for those that feel that we're impinging upon the rights of commerce to have commercial free speech, it would allow that, but it also enables the public to take a very simple action to reduce the intrusion on their lives that many feel that door-to-door sales does. So, and it is also something that is legally defensible for municipalities. Many municipalities do these no-knock registries. It also, I put a little bit of information there where it talks about the process that would happen. It also would involve that, the part of the fees that would be collected is this would go towards lanyards being created for those individuals. So an individual who is receiving a license would need to wear and display that lanyard and also have a copy of the permit with them because they could be questioned whether they had it or not. And each individual who's going, oftentimes they're going in pairs, they would both need to have that. So I put some information in this to spell it out again, because this was a discussion on this. We're not approving this draft now. I think that needs a little bit further review. But I think it's a good compromise. It also, we would need to have a conversation as a council.
Just for clarity, we don't have a good draft. I don't know what we don't have a draft. You said this draft.
I said, you don't have it.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't have it. No.
We don't. Okay.
No, you don't. I mean, because this is something that we're discussing now. I'm just sharing my thoughts on this. This is something we'll have to review.
Just making sure that it's.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But also, we'll have to have a discussion about the fees. And I know that in conversations with the solicitor, fees for this type of thing have to be appropriate to the type of business doing, but that's something that can be discussed. But essentially, there's fees. I also think it's important that when we draft this ordinance, that the fees, in my opinion, both the fees for the licensing and the penalties should be going back to the Recreation Commission budget, because if we're going to put the burden of distraction on the public with this, we might as well give them something back that has a positive social element to it. So that's probably more than you wanted me to say, but.
A little bit. Actually, I have thoughts on amending chapter 5.20, but it sounds like this is an entirely new ordinance that we're not, that we don't have in front of us. So I don't know how we should actually be proceeding with that. I think we should keep it to the 5.20. That
This would be an.
it would be in addition to that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have some thoughts on the, you're looking up like maybe it isn't, but
Who's looking?
If-
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
If I may, I think we had talked a lot about the door-to-door sales and instituting lanyards and identification and increasing the fees back in the spring. And we kind of put that to the side during license renewals. And so I think that we could probably incorporate this maybe as a chapter in that section,
Okay.
as well as develop appropriate fees and identification for that. As part of it, if we're not repealing it, because it doesn't sound like we're repealing door-to-doors at this point, and that we would just add additional requirements. What I think would be helpful for staff as we're making some amendments, we do have a pretty good version drafted from previous conversations, but this adds some new elements is what I would like to is, it is going to be an additional role and responsibility of of the clerk's office to manage this registry, should it be implemented. And so what, I think it would be a simple advertisement. We have Notify Me, but then necessarily the police department, which I think would be crucial in having that current list all the time. So like what comes to my mind right away is a Google form, and we could share that form, and everybody who has access to that form could be an updated thing, and that's not overly burdensome. And then it could be printed for each license cycle. And so that's not something, but it's an added thing. And so, I'm not, as you've seen, I've taken away admin fees. I want to take away admin fees, but in this case, having additional admin fees for the lanyard we talked about previously, and maybe producing this kind of list should be covered for the general expenses of that. And so the fees, generated in other ways, certainly can be vetted out, but this is what I'm just thinking generally if we incorporated this in the current ordinance.
Okay.
As a change.
Do we have any other council discussion? Sure, go ahead, Mark.
I would also add that door-to-door sales, people must honor no solicited, clearly visible, no solicited signs.
Thank you. Yeah, that was one of the items I had in my list as well. If we're going back to talking about 5.20, changes to the ordinance I'd want to see is increasing the fee. That's a complaint we get. The fee's too low for door-to-door sales. I like the idea of reusing the fees for something in town. I was thinking maybe providing no soliciting signs might be one we could do. I think somebody had suggested that to me even. That might have been you. We should include hours allowed, dawn to dusk. Keep it nice and it's in there. Okay. I'd also like to turn this task to be administrative. If council is no longer going to be able to restrict it due to infringing on somebody's First Amendment rights, then it shouldn't be an option up here to just be something that's administrative where, good, they check all the boxes and we're going to approve it. But if it gets denied, I think it's important that council be notified it got denied just to keep us in the loop. If it was approved, putting a copy of the approval in the communication section of the agenda might help still give the public the same kind of notification that they get now through a public hearing on the license. And my final thought was a repeat of what Councilor Reynolds had said, a fine for a clearly placed no soliciting sign. And I think it needs to be very specific what clearly placed means. Because in my experience in canvassing, my first year canvassing, I saw a sign that said, UPS and FedEx do not pass. I thought to myself, I'm not UPS, I'm not FedEx, and I passed and I got an upset email. So I just think that we should have, if we're going to be enforcing that rule, it needs to be consistent, like, so many feet up the driveway or on every mailbox or some kind of consistent rule. So that's all I had for my list. We'll go back to Councilor Palmashani. Oh, and then.
No, go ahead, 'cause I've already spoken.
Yeah, no, great input. If this is likely going to be up for debate when we see the draft, but I'd like to limit the amount of licenses per company. We can decide on what that appropriate number is, but I mean, there's 8,000 residents, there's 4,600 or so homes. I mean, I'm not sure we need, 6 different people going around with licenses. I mean, 2 per company, 3 per company. I mean, you get up the entire town in a couple months if that's your day to day. So I don't want to be giving out licenses to 100 people. And because then that's 100 people that come to your house and bother you, but for each business, limit it to 2 or 3 licenses per year, and that's it.
Sure, Katrin.
Yeah, so I thank you. And I think, again, we'll set the fee. So, my opinion, if, we have 6 to 8 people and they're all paying the fee that we have, so be it, right? They're paying money, so we can debate that. I guess my action would be based on the guidance of the council to provide the draft that I have, plus the input from the other council members to the interim town administrator and to the solicitor for review and proposal of a draft amendment in the future. Would that be what my action would be?
Yeah.
Okay. So we had a motion on the floor, right?
Aaron, do you have something you want to add?
Oh, wait a
And
minute.
that out one little point, and I see why we're probably going to an administrative task. However, I think there's a public notification component of a license, and so I think this would be the only license that we would do administratively. And I'm not sure that would be the one, because there's not a public hearing component on it with a big lead time. And so there wouldn't be a infringement on their time frame versus if it had a big public hearing requirement. I could see that we might want to do, but you know, they'd be put on an application, you know, if they submitted on the Wednesday prior, they'd be on the next Tuesday. So there's not a timing frame, and I think that having it be a license is probably important, especially with some of the kickback of residents, versus maybe putting it in communications and handling it administrative. My only thought.
And I would also just like to close by saying to the solicitor, to Counselor Wilcox and Counselor Reynolds, as our legal people in the room, I've learned more about the Central Hudson test than I ever thought I'd want to. So thank you for that education opportunity. I think there's questions in the audience.
Are there questions in the audience? Sure, go ahead, Mr. Parker.
Thank you, Madam President.
Yes.
Gary Parker, Richmond. Just truly as a resident and just thinking about the complexity involved in a no-knock list. I think the second order effects and unintended consequences are massive. For one, is it a no-knock list for anybody knocking on the door, or simply so if someone's walking around trying to solicit vote, you know, going through their normal political function, is it a no-knock list that restricts that? I mean, suddenly we would have categories and menus and pull downs. It becomes, of course, on the clerk's office to manage that, get that information out to the people real time. Because let's say resident A sees the folks giving, going door to door, they go, oh, I want to get on the no-knock list. They get on the no-knock list. But that person who's soliciting doesn't have the answer, doesn't know that. And now they come to the door. Oh, I put my name on the no-knock list. Well, it wasn't on my list. And suddenly it's becoming a fine.
Right.
So yeah, so we could kind of war game this thing through and quickly find that it's really kind of a bit of a house of cards that would actually place so much more burden on the town. I think ultimately there might be a mitigation of some sort. Thank goodness for the First Amendment, but there might be some other type of mitigation, as Councilor Palmigano has said. But I don't think the no-knock list is that mitigation, because it's going to be unbelievably open. And I think you're going to be dealing with a lot more problems than you are actually solving.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Let me just, there are exemptions that are clearly stated to your concern. There's key exemptions that wouldn't be covered by this. For example, nonprofits, religious organizations, they would not be under this no-knock. That is pretty standard practice. You know, I looked at all the avenues for this. There are people pro and against, but the overwhelming majority of the people in this community are against door-to-door sales. So it was incumbent upon me to try to find a creative way. You know, we could go that dangerous route of just throwing caution to the wind and saying, you know what, let's ban it all together like Westerly, and then find ourselves in front of this, you know, Supreme Court of defending our case of this, right? With that good old test, right? But I tried to find a compromise, which is, in my opinion, pretty straightforward. If you don't want this to happen, you fill out a form, you give your name, and boom, they don't come to your house. If I'm a company that wants to do door-to-door, when I get my license, I go to the town, get this list, it says don't go here, I don't go there. Pretty straightforward. So we allow commerce to happen. And again, we could debate this, but under the law, commercial free speech is not protected to the extent that the free speech in the First Amendment is. So there's a distinct difference in how it's interpreted and protected. I learned that too, right? So I'm not trying to inhibit this activity. I'm trying to listen to the public and to put something in place that is a balance to allow them to have the personal freedoms and right to their own property and not be interrupted, as well as allowing commerce to still continue.
Madam President, may I?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. So yeah, so the commercial free speech as separate from normal free speech. I think Councilor Zangary's letter pretty much clearly placed that out, that there is no difference that we could see. Second, if we are picking and choosing winners and basically winners and losers, saying you can go up to a home, but you can't, especially when the problems that were expressed were not necessarily what was being sold, but merely the fact that someone was coming up to the house. And so merely saying someone coming up to the house is a problem, I think it's a good place to start, because that was actually brought up in many cases. So the number of households, you know about how many households we have, 2,900 or so. If you've got the data, Counselor, on how many of those homes actually have said to you, we don't want that, we don't want somebody to come up. If it's even 10% of that, 295, I would be surprised at that. So I think the idea is we're gonna outdrive our headlights on this. We're gonna create a problem which we're not gonna be able to mitigate. And it's gonna come back and wind up tying up the clerk's office and possibly even the municipal court. So and absolutely, nobody's gonna challenge the idea that your constituents have told you that they don't like this. But in terms of a majority, I think that would be important to find that out.
I agree.
If that is in fact the case.
And that was the reason for the survey, which we haven't litigated on yet. So that's another mechanism that would allow us to know what's going on.
Right.
Yeah,
But
so-
we're already, Madam President.
Sorry, thank you.
Yeah, trying to avoid the back and forth too much, but that's okay. 'Cause just make sure everyone can be heard.
Just saying, if we've got the information, the actual ground level data that says this is a good idea, well, then of course, there could be a mitigation placed in there. But if it's based on on what we presume to be a large number, but in fact, that number is actually unknown. As it just stated, it's unknown. I think we should maybe wait, we get the information before we keep moving. That's just my suggestion
Yeah.
as a resident, not as the economic development.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
I appreciate it. I do agree, and I think I brought those concerns to you, when you had mentioned it to me, and I'd still like to see what it would look like, to see if it is something that's doable, but I agree, I'm concerned with the holes in the net, I guess, that
Unintended.
unintended consequences, where if the list isn't up to date and somebody goes to the wrong door, or human error happens, so to pretend that it wouldn't be okay, but I'd like to see at least where it goes and go from there.
I would like to just say, because I did all my homework on this solicitor, I do believe that if you look at typical legal standard for regulation, core free speech is under strict scrutiny, highest standard,
This is
and
intermediate.
commercial speech is intermediate, lowest standard. So there is a difference. Just for the record, there is a difference.
Council Reynolds
Thank you.
loving this.
Oh, gosh,
Looking for a job.
I know.
Miller over there.
Just saying. So, that's where I was gleaning my understanding of the difference of it. So I don't know if that matters a lot to y'all in the legal sense of it, but just saying.
So there was a motion for me to draft no, there was not. You have not. I thought there was.
There was a motion and a second, wasn't there?
What was your motion?
My
I didn't write it down.
Did you?
For you to work with staff on your draft.
Oh.
Right.
We have our town planner?
On Gillette Town Planner, would there be any consideration of, I hear the concern of having people not necessarily understand the timeframe for the opt-in or opt-out list, and having people opt out when they see someone walking down the street, and that not being a particularly fair situation for either party? Could you have a cutoff date? I mean, obviously you need to have carve outs for if people move into town and they're not necessarily in town for the date of that particular time, but that might mitigate some of the concerns about not knowing what the playing field is.
Yeah,
Just a thought.
yeah, it might, or even adding in the ordinance, creating it to allow us for 30 days to update our list when you're added to the list, because somebody may move to town and know and do it right away, but somebody who's been living here, 10 years or so may not know we're doing this right now.
I do hear the issue of
Good idea.
being a person who is trying to make a living doing door-to-door sales and not having the understanding of, oh, this person was recently added, that kind of thing. So just my 2 cents.
Go
That's
ahead.
good. And I think also that it should be understood that there's a gray area there and that we have the final right of refusal. When it comes to penalties and fines, I think it should be written into it that it empowers, whether it be the town administrator to make a determination based on mitigating services, because there could be some errors. And I think that we can avert that conundrum by allowing them to have that flexibility to disavow those fines if there's something is not right. I mean, there could be a lot of complexity that could happen with that. We don't know what we don't know, right? When these kind of things are written. And I think giving them the flexibility to make those changes if needed is fine. It's not about the fines, really. It's not about the fines. It's about public privacy, public ability to control their own, goings on. There's also some information there about curfews, right? Curfew is a date where you can go, or the time you can start, the time you can finish. And I also put in not on Sundays, right? That's just something that's in the draft, because for many of you, I don't know, I have been outside in my yard and I have been approached because I'm simply outside. So that's something I find that a lot of people don't want. But again, we can have that discussion.
Yeah, I
Thank
can't wait to see the draft, because every time you speak, I feel like there's something new I'm learning about this draft.
Yeah.
So I really can't wait to see it, because we don't really know much. So the motion on the floor was to have you work with staff based on this conversation. on the no knock list. So I'm gonna do a motion to amend that motion to add chapter 5.20 to the discussion.
Second.
All right, so we'll go for our roll call vote unless there's council discussion. It's just they can discuss both of them. All right, Counselor Dinsmore,
Yes.
Madnick,
Yes.
Palmigano.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
And myself, yes. So now we have your amended motion, so that you can have the conversation with staff regarding the no knock list as well as chapter 5.20.
Thank you. Thank you. Rob.
Aaron, do you have?
Just one last statement. So just for timeline and expectations of all, Chris and I have had some discussions about the other Title V ordinances. And many of these things will be happening after the first of the year.
Okay.
So I just want to make it known that it won't be appearing on a December agenda.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, any further council discussion? All right, Kendra, is there anybody online? Okay. We'll go for a roll call vote. Counselor Dinsmore,
Yes.
Madnick,
Yes.
Palmigano.
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
and myself, yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. On to new business, a request from Vice President Reynolds for discussion and consideration of a resolution. Take it away and give us your motion.
Okay. So past couple of meetings, we've been talking a lot about the impacts of the federal shutdown and what we can do to try to help folks out. And as most people know, federal workers were working without pay for that period of time. And although the shutdown is over, it's uncertain when they'll, receive their back pay. So I saw that other towns have deferred a payment of the next quarter's taxes. Our second quarter taxes are due in early December, which is right around the corner. And so I reached out to Erin and Danielle to see whether if we allowed federal workers to postpone their second quarter taxes for 60 days, whether that would, present a financial burden or a concern. They indicated it would not, that would be fine. We would be fine doing that. So I have proposed a resolution, and I guess I can just read it quickly since it's everyone has it. But whereas due to the impasse, Congress is unable to pass appropriation bills that fund the operations of federal agencies and programs as of October 1st, 2025. And whereas through no fault of their own, federal workers will not receive their pay because of the impasse. And whereas these federal workers provide important and essential services to our country, our state, and our community. And whereas because the work of federal employees is so vital to our country, our state, and our community, many of them still have to continue to work despite not receiving pay. And whereas many federal workers that provide important and essential services live in the town of Richmond, and whereas federal workers that live in the town of Richmond are working for the benefit of our community, but not being paid for the work that our community is benefiting from. Now, therefore, be it resolved in order to lessen the potential financial burden put upon unpaid federal employees that live in the town of Richmond, the town council resolves to allow these workers to delay payment of their second quarter real estate taxes for up to 60 days and directs the finance director or town administrator to process a waiver of any interest and/or penalties for said federal workers that reside in Richmond. And be it further resolved, this temporary relief shall be in effect for this time period, provided residents present verification of their employment by the federal government and certify that they have not received their full pay due to the impasse. And I would move passage of that resolution.
I'll second it. Do we have any council discussion? Great, sure, go ahead.
So they have to prove that they haven't gotten paid, is that?
No, the thought is they have to prove that they're a federal employee. We're just gonna have them sign something that says they haven't gotten paid.
All right.
Gonna take their word for it.
Yeah.
It's just a delay. We're not giving up anything. So yeah, they just have to acknowledge that they haven't been paid. That's all. Yeah.
Thank you so much for putting this forward. Good idea. We'll go for our vote. Counselor Dinsmore,
Yes.
Madnick,
Yes.
Palmigano.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
And myself, yes. All right, on to a request for myself for discussion consideration of a taxpayer reimbursement of interests for late payment. By way of background, it's not a request from me, it's a request from the taxpayer themselves. Per the ordinance, the tax assessor has the authority, if certain criteria is met, to issue refunds. If denied, They then send a letter to the resident with a copy to all member of council. The taxpayer then has the right to ask the council for reimbursement. So the resident reached out to me, had questions about this process. I guided them through the proper process. Once it was determined that they did not qualify for the reasons that's stated in the letter on your agenda, in the materials, they then requested reimbursement from the council. It was within the 10 days that's allowed. So this item's just here for council to determine. There's really no criteria for council, whether or not we want to issue a refund. It's completely just subjective. The concern here was that the check was lost in the mail. On the little blue sheet that you get, it does say that we're not responsible for lost mail. But I can't make this determination on my own, so I had to put it before council. But I'd like to just put forward a motion to file.
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second. Any further council discussion?
No. So by motion to file, we're not taking any action.
Correct.
Yep.
Sure, go ahead.
Just communicated to the interim administrator and council president that the person who had requested it had decided to withdraw the discussion from their perspective, so that's why it's be filed.
All right, so we'll go for a vote. Counselor Dinsmore.
Yes.
Madnick.
Yes.
Palmigano.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
And myself, yes. On to discussion and consideration of amendments to the zoning ordinance. I'm not going to read all that. Hallie, will you take it away? Let us know what you'd like from us.
Sure, I would like you to allow the town clerk to advertise for a public hearing in relation to amending chapter 1816 use regulations, section 1816.010 table of uses. This will allow banks and financial institutions to be permitted by right in the neighborhood business zone. They were previously permitted by special use permit, but the planning board thought that it would make sense to have them be permitted. So that's the sum total of that particular component.
Right. Do we have a motion to go ahead?
So we're not talking about the objective criteria for special use permits?
No, I've asked to have that placed on the next agenda. I provided it to the clerk's office and it was provided to the council, but it did not make it onto this particular agenda, but that will be on your next agenda. So that's going to be a much more substantive discussion. That relates to the creation of a new section. I am reticent to discuss it further because it's not part of the agenda, but I just wanted to offer that clarification.
Thank you. Go ahead.
What do you mean it's not part of the agenda? Didn't get linked? Well, it did get linked. It's in the.
It got linked, however, the subject line, without going into a lot of detail, there was some clarity issues on the past items that we thought were
You think it was-
intended for public hearing, and then the planning board's approval was they took some further deliberation on it, and so that specific item is not appeared as a identifiable item on this agenda to have discussion, so it will be put forward for advertising.
So do you think,
Go ahead. Mark.
That said, the material will not change, so you can just consider it. You have extra time to review the material that will be discussed in the future.
so you determined that the description on the agenda was not sufficient for us to consider the special use permits?
For this evening.
Okay. Gotcha.
All right.
So this is just to allow as of right instead of special use permit?
Yes, that is correct.
We're just
For-
advertising.
For advertising.
So I'll make a motion to advertise for public hearing amendments to zoning ordinance 18.6 use regulations, section 18.16.010 table of uses entitled Bank Financial Institution.
I'll second it. Do we have council discussion or questions?
Yeah, Mark, did you say zoning ordinance chapter 18.6?
He did.
Section?
Sorry.
Okay,
18.16.
one fix. Thank you.
All right, seeing no other discussion, we'll go for our roll call vote. Counselor Dinsmore,
Yes.
Madnick,
Yes.
Palmigano.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
And myself, yes. All right. You want to give us a little overview on the next item for question?
Sure, so this is a very, very brief amendment that is being made to chapter 1820 dimensional regulations. So the existing language as it stands now, which will be amended, essentially allows the zoning board to make determinations on dimensional criteria for special use permits. But because changes to state law now allow both the planning board and the zoning board to do that within different functions, planning board under unified development review, zoning board is just the review of a special use permit. it's been changed to basically have kind of a more blanket approach, and it's not specifically just saying that the zoning board or the planning board can do that, because they technically both have those powers. So, at the planning board meeting, Solicitor Zangari gave us a little bit of information about some case law in relation to the granting of dimensional variances in relation to special use permits. And so that the language that is included there is something that we discussed at that planning meeting.
Awesome. So do we have a motion or questions on this?
Yeah, I'll just say this, to me, is just a clerical administrative change, because all this was baked into the zoning regulations that were passed down to us a couple years ago. And we just didn't consider this little piece when we made the change, but the planning board's already gone through a unified development plan review, so they've already actually on this in some way.
Okay.
So it's been executed, just now cleaning it up.
Thank you for clarifying.
Part of my
I'll make-
charge is to look at all the different components of the zoning ordinance, and anytime I see something that I
Yeah.
think should be changed and can be changed very easily, I think it's appropriate to bring that to your attention and have you have a public hearing to amend it.
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing it to our attention. I'll then make a motion to advertise amendments to the zoning ordinance, chapter 18.20, dimensional regulations, section 18.20.20, B, entitled supplemental dimensional regulations with that's what I'm authorizing. Sorry, it's getting late. That's my motion.
Second.
All right. Any further council discussion or questions? I do see Aaron's hand up. Go ahead.
Just to add on that, zoning ordinance advertisement requires 3 consecutive weeks. I believe that council should authorize the next component at the next meeting, and then we would all have this in one ad as a savings of the town and handle all the zoning amendments at that time. So it may not appear, depending on timing and the holiday, till the later meeting in December, if not January, depending on advertising.
Perfect. Thank you for letting us know. We'll go for a roll call vote. Counselor Dinsmore,
Yes.
Bandit,
Yes.
Machado.
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
and myself, yes. All right. Communications, petitions, proclamations, and resolutions.
Motion to file?
Second. Go for our roll call vote. Counselor Dinsmore.
Yes.
Bandit,
Yes.
Machado.
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
and myself, yes.
Motion.
Sure, go ahead. If you got that.
Motion to enter executive session pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 42-46-5A1. Discussion of job performance, personnel and character. And also 42-46-5A4, investigative proceedings.
Second. Any council discussion? We'll go for a roll call vote. Counselor Dinsmore.
Yes.
Madnick.
Yes.
Machado.
Yes.
Reynolds,
Yes.
and myself, yes. No video, but we're good to go? All right, can we please have a motion to exit executive session?
So moved.
Second.
We got our motion and our second. We'll go for our vote. Counselor Dinsmore.
Yes.
Madnick.
Yes.
Palmigano.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
And myself, yes. Can we have a motion to seal the executive session minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we'll go for our vote. Counselor Dinsmore.
Yes.
Madnick.
Yes.
Palmigano.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
And myself, yes. The only vote taken in executive session tonight was to go past 9 o'clock for an additional half an hour. That was made by myself, President Wilcox, seconded by Counselor Madnick, and it was unanimously approved this evening. And that's all we have to do. So we'll go for our motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
I'll second it and we'll go for our roll call vote. Counselor Dinsmore.
Yes.
Madnick.
Yes.
Palmigano.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
And myself, yes. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.